The bass thumped through the floor of the club, vibrating up through my shoes and into my bones. Neon lights swept across the crowded room in lazy arcs, painting faces in shades of electric blue and violent pink. I remember thinking, somewhere in the back of my mind, that I shouldn't be here. That wasn't my scene. I was the guy who preferred quiet coffee shops and library corners, the one who actually read the assigned chapters before class. My girlfriend Emily used to tease me about it constantly. "You're such an old soul, Jake," she'd say, tracing her finger along my jawline. "It's cute. Annoying, but cute." Tonight, though, I'd let her talk me into coming. It was supposed to be fun. A celebration. Finals were over, summer was breathing down our necks, and the whole friend group had decided to let loose. So there I sat, pressed into the sticky leather of a corner booth, Emily warm against my side, her fingers intertwined loosely with mine. She smelled like vanilla and whatever expensive perfume her mother had sent her last birthday. Familiar. Safe. Or so I thought. The game started innocently enough. Truth or dare. Someone produced a dusty bottle from God knows where, and we took turns spinning it in the center of the table. The rules evolved as the night wore on, fueled by cheap beer and the particular recklessness that only comes when young people gather in dimly lit spaces. By the time the bottle had made its 10th or 11th rotation, the dares had escalated from kiss your neighbor's cheek to something far more charged. Sam, a junior from Emily's department, had been eyeing the bottle all night with a nervous energy that I found vaguely irritating. He was one of those guys who laughed too loudly at his own jokes, who stood just a little too close to Emily when we passed in the hallway. I'd mentioned it to her once, casually, and she'd waved me off. "He's just friendly, Jake. Don't be paranoid." The bottle spun. It wobbled. It stopped, pointing directly at Sam. A chorus of whoops and hollers erupted around the table. Someone produced a slip of paper from a bowl in the center of the table, a dare jar, they called it. Sam unfolded it with trembling fingers, his face pale beneath the club's shifting lights. He read it silently. His throat bobbed as he swallowed. "Well?" Chloe demanded from across the table. She was Emily's friend, though I'd never quite figured out how close they actually were. Chloe kept to herself mostly, watched everything with those sharp eyes of hers, contributed just enough to seem present without ever really participating. She was beautiful in a way that felt almost accidental. High cheekbones, a mouth that seemed perpetually on the verge of a smirk, dark hair that fell across her forehead in careless waves. I'd seen guys fall over themselves trying to get her attention. I'd also seen her shoot every single one of them down without breaking a sweat. Sam's voice came out strangled. "Choose any girl present and kiss her for 3 minutes." The table went quiet for exactly 1 heartbeat. Then the noise returned, louder than before, a cacophony of encouragement and nervous laughter. Sam's eyes darted around the group, skipping over faces, searching for someone safe, someone who wouldn't make things complicated. His gaze landed on Emily. She was playing with my fingers, tracing idle patterns across my palm, seemingly oblivious to the sudden shift in attention. The lights caught the curve of her cheek, the slight smile playing at her lips. She looked comfortable. Untouchable. Sam said, and his voice cracked in a way that would have been funny under different circumstances. "Senior Jake. Could I maybe borrow Emily? For 3 minutes." The air turned to glass. I felt every pair of eyes in that booth swivel toward me, weighing my reaction, waiting to see what I would do. The music seemed to fade, or maybe my ears were just ringing. Emily's hand stopped moving against mine. She didn't look up. I kept my voice even, though something hot and unpleasant was coiling in my chest. "There are plenty of single girls here, Sam. Why not ask one of them?" He bit his lower lip, face flushing crimson. He looked genuinely miserable, which almost made me feel bad for him. Almost. He muttered something unintelligible and slid out of the booth, moving to the other side to try his luck elsewhere. The first girl shook her head. The second laughed and said no. The third, a transfer student named Mia who'd had visibly too much to drink, grinned with something that looked like malice. "I'm fine with it," she said, slurring slightly. "French kiss." Sam looked like he might actually cry. He shook his head frantically, hands raised in surrender. No, that's not, I didn't mean." But Mia was already reaching for him, emboldened by alcohol and something meaner, something that enjoyed watching him squirm. She grabbed his wrist and leaned in, close enough that I could see Sam's panic from across the table. That's when Emily moved. She let go of my hand. I felt the absence immediately, like a wire being cut, and stood up. She pulled Sam back gently but firmly, positioning herself between him and Mia. Her smile was cold, polished, the kind she deployed when someone had overstepped and needed to be reminded of their place. "What's the fun in picking on a younger guy?" she asked, her voice sweet in a way that made it clear she wasn't being sweet at all. Sam grabbed her hand like she was a lifeline. He looked up at her with something bordering on worship. I watched them, this tableau, and felt the coil in my chest tighten another notch. I tugged at Emily's sleeve. She turned, eyebrows raised. I didn't want to cause a scene, that wasn't who I was, and I knew how it would look if I lost my temper in front of everyone. So I smiled instead. Casual. Easy. The way I always did. "My head hurts a bit," I said. "Can you take me home?" She didn't answer immediately, just looked at me with those sharp eyes of hers, weighing something I couldn't quite read. I pressed on, keeping my voice low, just for her. "Come with me, Emily. If you leave with me right now, I'll believe you when you say you only like me. That you don't have feelings for Sam, who keeps hanging around you." Our eyes met. The noise of the club faded to nothing. She pulled her hand away from mine. "You know I can't leave," she said, and her voice was quiet but utterly final. No apology. No hesitation. Just a statement of fact that landed like a slap. I stared at her, something hot pricking behind my eyes. She must have seen it, the hurt I couldn't quite hide, because her expression softened slightly. She let go of Sam's hand. I noticed he didn't let go of hers immediately, and crouched down in front of me. Her voice dropped into that coaxing tone she used when she thought I was being unreasonable. "Sam's my junior in the department," she said, like that explained everything. "I have to protect him. Jake, be good." She reached up and brushed her thumb near my eye, a gesture so tender it felt almost cruel. "If it makes you uncomfortable, just don't watch. Wait for me. Just a few minutes." I grabbed her sleeve. I could feel the fabric bunching under my fingers, wrinkling the crisp white cuff of her shirt. My voice came out hoarse. "Emily, if you kiss him, I'll break up with you." I meant it. God help me, I meant it with every fiber of my being. My eyes felt dry and hot, but no tears came. I held her gaze, willing her to understand that this wasn't a tantrum, wasn't jealousy, wasn't anything petty or small. This was a line. And she was about to cross it. Her patience evaporated like fog in sunlight. She pried my fingers off her sleeve, one by one, with a gentleness that somehow made it worse. Then she stood up and looked down at me, and I saw something in her eyes that I'd only seen once before. It was the same look she'd given when her family's housekeeper tried to introduce her own son to Emily. Polite refusal masking something deeper. Disdain, almost. Like I was beneath her consideration. "Don't be so petty, Jake," she said. One of her friends, Megan, I think, though my focus was narrowing to a pinpoint, tried to intervene. "Hey, man, don't take it so seriously. It's just a game." Her boyfriend muttered something under his breath that I caught anyway. "Yeah, seriously, what a killjoy. If you can't handle it, why even come to a bar?" I opened my mouth to respond, though I had no idea what I was going to say. But before I could, someone else spoke. It was a soft laugh. Almost dismissive. Coming from the corner of the booth where Chloe had been sitting all night, watching everything with those unreadable eyes. Everyone turned to look at her. She didn't seem bothered by the attention. She rested her head on her hand and let her gaze drift to the guy who'd just spoken, Megan's boyfriend, whose name I couldn't even remember. "You can handle it?" Chloe asked, her voice lazy, almost bored. "Why don't you go kiss every girl here, then?" She paused, tilting her head like she was considering something. Accept me. I can't handle it." It was perfectly calibrated. Enough to embarrass him, not enough to start an actual fight. The guy sputtered, his face turning red, but no comeback came. Chloe took a drag from her cigarette, when had she lit that? And leaned back against the booth, exhaling smoke toward the ceiling. She tossed her metal lighter onto the coffee table with a soft clink. "Killjoy," she said, throwing his own words back at him. I stared at her, genuinely shocked. She was Emily's friend. She had no reason to defend me. In fact, She had every reason to stay quiet, to let me twist in the wind. But she hadn't. I was so surprised that I barely registered the 3-minute kiss beginning. Sam leaned in. Emily didn't pull away. I watched them, and something inside me went very quiet, like a television being switched off. There was no drama in it. No theatrical heartbreak. Just a dull, mechanical recognition. This is over. I pulled out my phone and opened my contacts. Scrolled to Emily's name. Deleted it. 3 minutes passed. When Emily slid back into the booth beside me, a faint smile of satisfaction on her face, I had just finished blocking her number. The smile vanished. What's the meaning of this? I told you we're breaking up. She pressed her hand down on mine, stopping me from blocking her completely. Are you done? She laughed, but there was something brittle beneath it, a crack in the armor. It was just a game, Jake. How far are you going to take this drama? I didn't answer. If it were you kissing someone else for a game, she continued, regaining her composure, I wouldn't care at all. She knew me. That was the worst part. She knew my straight-laced nature, my discomfort with public displays, my tendency to overthink everything. She was counting on it. Counting on the fact that I would never do anything out of line, that I would always be the safe one, the predictable one, the boyfriend who stayed home while she went out. She was wrong. Before I could respond, before I even knew what I was going to say, a commotion erupted from the other side of the room. Someone had drawn the next dare from the jar. The person reading it let out a low whistle. Take any guy present home for the night, they announced. A girl added, with a knowing smile, and yeah, it means actually getting a room. The group laughed, but the laughter had an edge to it. This was a big one. This was the kind of dare that could actually change things. Chloe hadn't moved. She was still sitting in her corner, cigarette burned down to nothing, eyes fixed on some middle distance. Someone who knew her tried to smooth things over. Can't you see my girl Chloe's reserved? She's kept to herself all these years. Let's just make her take a penalty shot and let it go. Most people nodded along. The dares had been escalating all night, but no one actually followed through on the really intense ones. That was the unspoken rule. You drew the card, you made a show of considering it, and then you took your shot and moved on. But then Chloe spoke. Wait. She looked up. Across the room. Straight at me. Everyone fell silent. I watched, transfixed, as she slid out of the booth and walked toward me. The crowd parted around her like water around a stone. She stopped in front of me and extended her hand. Her lips curved into a smile that made my heart stutter in my chest. Want to consider spending the night with me? The world stopped. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean the music faded, the lights dimmed, the chatter of the crowd dissolved into white noise. There was only Chloe's hand, extended toward me, and the weight of every pair of eyes in that room pressing against my skin. Emily spoke first, of course. She'd recovered from her earlier surprise, and her voice had that sharp, commanding edge that usually made people fall in line. If you're drunk, Chloe, I'll have someone send you home. A pause, deliberate, loaded. He's my boyfriend. The air crackled. I could feel the tension radiating off Emily like heat from a stove. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about territory, about hierarchy, about who could claim what in the complicated social ecosystem of our friend group. Chloe glanced at her. Just glanced. That was all it took. There was something in that look, amusement, maybe, or something colder, that made Emily's jaw tighten. So, Chloe said, it's just a game. Don't be uptight, Emily. The word landed like a slap. Uptight. The same accusation Emily had just leveled at me, thrown back in her face. I saw the calculation flicker behind Emily's eyes, the realization that she couldn't object without looking hypocritical. She forced a smile. It didn't reach her eyes. Why would I be? It's just that my boyfriend's too conservative. He'd never agree to it. I'm just refusing for him. She was so sure of herself. So absolutely, completely certain that I would never step out of line, never break the pattern, never do anything that might disrupt her tidy understanding of who I was. That certainty was exactly what made me move. I placed my hand in Chloe's palm. Okay, I said. The smile froze on Emily's face. For one beautiful, terrible moment, she looked genuinely shocked, mouth slightly open, eyes wide, all that carefully constructed composure crumbling at the edges. It was the first time I'd ever seen her caught off guard, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good. Chloe's eyebrows lifted slightly, the first real reaction I'd seen from her all night. Her fingers closed around mine, warm and steady. She pulled me up from the booth, and I went willingly, my legs carrying me forward even though my brain hadn't quite caught up to what I was doing. Gasps erupted behind us. I heard fragments of conversation, voices overlapping in their disbelief. Holy crap, is that Chloe? Am I too drunk or am I seeing things? I'd sooner believe Chloe's possessed. And then Emily's voice, sharpest of all, cutting through the noise like a blade. Stop. She didn't get up. She remained seated in the booth, her posture rigid, her expression carefully controlled. But I could see the cracks now, the slight tremor in her hands, the way her nostrils flared as she breathed. She smiled, and it was the most frightening expression I'd ever seen on her face. I just wanted to say, she said, her voice light, almost playful, let me know which hotel you get a room at. I'll bring you guys some condoms. The table laughed nervously. No one quite knew how to react. I beat Chloe to the punch. I turned back to Emily, and I smiled, not my usual easy smile, but something sharper, something that felt almost foreign on my face. No need to worry about your ex getting a room right after breaking up, I said. Aren't you being a little desperate, Emily? Her expression flickered. I pressed on, savoring the feeling. Sorry, I'm not really into clingy types. Before Emily's face could darken further, before she could say whatever cutting thing was undoubtedly forming on her tongue, I pulled Chloe toward the door. We walked out together, her hand still in mine, and I didn't look back. The night air hit me like a wall. It was cooler outside, the humidity from the club giving way to the dry heat of the summer evening. I took a deep breath, then another, feeling something unknot in my chest. Chloe's car was parked at the curb, a sensible sedan, dark blue, unremarkable in exactly the way she wasn't. She unlocked it with a beep, and I slid into the passenger seat without being asked. The leather was cool against my back. I realized I was sweating. Neither of us spoke as she pulled away from the curb. The streets were quiet at this hour, the neon glow of the club district giving way to the softer darkness of residential neighborhoods. Streetlights flickered overhead, casting brief pools of orange light that slid across Chloe's face in intervals. I let out a long, satisfied breath. The frustration I'd been carrying all night, the coiled tension in my chest, the dull ache of watching Emily kiss someone else, had vanished completely. In its place was something lighter, almost giddy. Thanks for helping me back there, I said, breaking the silence. You can just drop me at the next subway station. I assumed, naturally, that the dare wasn't serious. Chloe had done me a favor, given me an out, provided cover for my wounded pride. Now we could both go our separate ways, and tomorrow we'd laugh about it, and everything would go back to normal. Chloe didn't look at me. She steered with one hand, the other resting loosely on the gear shift. Her voice was lazy, almost sleepy. Do you know the penalty for lying to them? I shook my head. I didn't really care. Truth or dare penalties were always silly. Drink this, do that, nothing that actually mattered. Chloe continued, still not looking at me. Before they started, they made a pact. Everyone in that group agreed. Whoever lies will be poor forever, drowning in debt, never get rich. I blinked. What? She pulled out her phone and handed it to me, the group chat open on the screen. I scrolled up, reading the messages. And there it was, in black and white, the pact, written out in all caps, confirmed by every single person in the group. My eyes widened. I read it again. And again. No. No, no, no. I believed in a lot of things. Luck, fate, karma, maybe that made me superstitious, but I didn't care. The idea of being poor forever, of drowning in debt, of never getting rich, that wasn't something I was willing to risk. Not even for a joke. While I was still reeling, Chloe pulled over at the subway entrance. She nodded toward the door with a half smile. Get out, Junior, she said. It's just being poor forever. No big deal. I immediately shook my head, gripping the door handle so tightly my knuckles went white. No. This is a very big deal. Chloe's smile widened slightly. She seemed to misunderstand my hesitation. Can't open the door. She leaned over, her hand reaching for the handle, and that's when I made a decision I would spend the next several minutes regretting. Without thinking, I pressed down on her hand, stopping her from opening the door. Her other hand braced against the side of my seat. Her body hovered over mine, boxing me effortlessly into the small space. She was close enough that I could smell her perfume, something light, almost citrusy, completely unlike Emily's heavy vanilla. Chloe looked down at me, her expression unreadable. What's the meaning of this? My brain short-circuited. Thoughts spun in chaotic circles, none of them quite making it to my mouth. I blinked up at her, trapped between her body and the seat, and the words that came out were not the ones I'd intended to say. I want to sleep with you. The silence that followed was deafening. Chloe's expression didn't change. She leaned back into the driver's seat, putting distance between us, and tugged at her lips in a meaningless gesture. But I don't want to sleep with you. The atmosphere froze solid. I felt the embarrassment crash over me in waves, hot and suffocating. I mentally imploded at least 3 times before I managed to nod, keeping my voice as steady as I could. Sorry. I think I drank a bit too much. I overstepped. I lowered my head, murmuring my goodbyes. I'll get going, then. I reached for the door handle. The lock clicked down before I could touch it. Chloe started the engine without a word. I looked back at her, confused. The side of her face looked colder than before, jaw set, eyes fixed on the road ahead. I swallowed my embarrassment and tried again. I'm sorry, Chloe. I didn't mean it. I really don't have any intentions toward you. I shifted in the passenger seat, my head bowed like a scolded schoolboy. My voice dropped to almost a whisper. I don't want to sleep with you. You're beautiful, but not my type at all. Don't worry, you're safe from me. No response. The air in the car turned completely frigid. I noticed the speedometer climbing. She was driving faster now, accelerating through yellow lights, taking corners with a sharpness that made me grip the door handle for real this time. Why was she even angrier now? I couldn't figure it out. I'd apologized, I'd clarified, I'd made it absolutely clear that I wasn't pursuing her. What more did she want? We drove in silence for another 10 minutes. The neighborhoods changed around us, student housing giving way to something more residential, tree-lined streets and buildings with actual architectural character. Chloe pulled up in front of a quiet bar, the kind that didn't have a sign out front, the kind you only knew about if someone told you. She rested her forearm on the steering wheel and glanced at me coolly. Don't forget, she said. We have to stay together tonight. Oh. So we didn't actually have to do anything to keep the promise. We just had to be together. Chloe really was that smart and principled. She'd found a loophole, a way to fulfill the dare without anything actually happening between us. I felt relief wash over me, followed immediately by a fresh wave of embarrassment. Of course she didn't want to sleep with me. She was just helping me save face. I'd completely misread the situation. I got out of the car quickly, before I could embarrass myself further. The bar was dimly lit, all exposed brick and worn leather, the kind of place that felt like it had been there forever. Chloe knew the owner, a woman with silver streak hair and kind eyes who nodded at Chloe like they shared a secret language. Chloe settled me into a booth near the back and then disappeared somewhere, murmuring something about getting drinks. I was alone. Finally. I pulled out my phone, meaning to check the time, and saw that I had a missed call from an unknown number. Curiosity got the better of me. I answered. It took me a moment to realize what I was hearing. There were voices on the other end, Sam and Emily, their words slightly distorted by whatever recording device they were using. They must have accidentally called me. Or maybe someone had deliberately put them on speaker. I didn't know. I didn't care. What I heard stopped me cold. Emily, why aren't you calling Jake? Sam was saying, aren't you worried at all that he's cheating? Emily laughed. I knew that laugh. It was the one she used when she thought someone was being ridiculous. Don't I know how straight-laced he is? He's just saying that stuff to spite me. Her voice held that casual confidence I'd grown so used to, the certainty that she understood me completely. He's definitely back in his dorm asleep by now. Sam giggled. But seeing you so calm, Emily, it feels like you don't really care that much about Jake either. A few seconds of silence. Then Emily's voice, flat and matter-of-fact, I'm not that into him. I slammed the phone off. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, though that was there, certainly, but from shame. Because she wasn't wrong. I had been planning to go back to the dorm, shower, and sleep. I'd let her push me around, let her kiss someone else in front of me, and my grand act of rebellion had been sitting in a car and apologizing for existing. My chest felt heavy, suffocated, like it was stuffed with waterlogged cotton. The cocktail I'd ordered arrived. I didn't remember ordering it. I snatched it and downed it in one gulp, trying to extinguish the nameless fire burning inside me. The waiter gave me a speechless look. He turned to leave, then froze. He whipped back around, his face pale. "Sir," he said, his voice rising to a shriek, "wrong drink. That's the owner's special mix. For himself." I tried to reassure him. "It's okay. I'll pay you back for it." But the waiter wasn't listening. He dropped his tray, it clattered against the floor, sending glasses rolling, and bolted upstairs in the direction Chloe had gone. A few moments later, I understood his panic. This drink. It was spiked. The world tilted. That's the only way I can describe it. One moment I was sitting upright in the booth, my thoughts racing but my body still under my control. The next, the floor seemed to shift beneath me, and everything went soft at the edges. Colors bleeding into each other, sounds coming from far away, my limbs turning to water. By the time Chloe appeared before me, my awareness had plummeted to somewhere around 2.5%. I was conscious enough to recognize her face, to register the frown pulling at her brow, but not much else. "Leo," she said. Her voice sounded strange, distant, like she was speaking through water. "How are you feeling?" She leaned down close, and her hand touched my cheek. Her skin was cool against the fire burning under my surface, and I made a sound that might have been a moan. I rubbed my cheek against her palm like a cat seeking affection, chasing that coolness. "That feels so nice," I mumbled. But somewhere in the remaining fragments of my awareness, I remembered her earlier rejection. The way she'd looked at me in the car, cold and dismissive. "But I don't want to sleep with you." The words echoed in my fuzzy brain, and even through the haze, shame cut through. I pushed her hand away. Reluctantly. Slowly. But I pushed. Then I hopped off the bar stool, or tried to. My legs didn't quite cooperate, and I stumbled, catching myself on the edge of the bar. The wood was rough under my palms. I used it as an anchor, pulling myself toward the exit. "Where are you going?" Chloe grabbed my arm. Her grip was firm, grounding. I thought for a moment, trying to assemble words into something resembling a coherent answer. The effort felt monumental. "Chloe," I said finally, "I think I need a woman right now." I saw her expression flicker. Before she could misinterpret, I pressed on, earnest in the way only a severely intoxicated person can be. "But not you." I nodded to myself, pleased with my own logic. She'd helped me. She'd been kind to me. Forcing myself on her would be immoral. Unthinkable. So I emphasized, enunciating each word with painstaking care. "Don't worry. Whoever I find, it won't be you." Chloe's face was already impossibly dark. She released my arm, I wobbled but managed to stay upright, and looked down at me. Her voice was cold. Dismissive. "Is that so, Leo? I hope you mean that." The next thing I knew, somehow, Chloe had carried me up to a hotel room upstairs. I don't remember the journey. I don't remember climbing stairs or opening doors or anything between the bar and this new space, a room with cream-colored walls and a bed that seemed impossibly large and a window that looked out onto a city I no longer recognized. Simultaneously, my self-control slipped another notch. I felt like I was sinking in a hot, humid swamp. My skin was too tight, my clothes too rough, every nerve ending firing at once. I was restless and agitated, my thoughts scattering like startled birds whenever I tried to catch one. Chloe had taken off most of her top layers. She was down to just a sports bra and drawstring sweatpants now, her arms bare, her shoulders pale in the dim light. She leaned lazily against the sofa at the foot of the bed, watching me with those cool, assessing eyes. "Come here," she said. My eyes drifted over her. The slender waist. The beautiful collarbones. The sharp line of her jaw. I couldn't look away. Damn it. I shuffled over to her obediently, my body moving without my permission. She was fiddling with a small bottle, medicine, maybe, or ointment. Her peach blossom eyes were hazy and captivating as she looked up at me. "Since I helped you out today," she said, her voice dropping into something lower, something almost intimate, "how about you help me put some ointment on?" I nodded. I felt like a melting ice cream cone, hot and weak and losing my shape by the second. But I still accepted the daunting task. "Where does it hurt, Chloe?" She took my burning hand and placed it near her shoulder blade. "Here." I blinked rapidly, trying to focus. My face felt hot. I was probably blushing. I tried to change the subject, to say something normal, but Chloe didn't answer. Instead, she guided my hand to her side. "It hurts here, too, Junior," she said, and there it was, that playful, teasing manner she'd shown at the club. Her smile lingered, inviting. I applied the ointment. Or tried to. My hands weren't working quite right, and I kept fumbling the cap. Somehow, in the process, I ended up sitting on her lap. Her thighs were warm beneath me, solid and real in a way the rest of the room wasn't. She used the same trick again, lifting my fingertips to her lips. "Does it hurt here, too?" I stared at those thin lips. They looked soft. I wondered what they would feel like against mine. Chloe's voice dropped even lower, husky now, almost a whisper. "Kiss it. Then you'll know if it hurts." My hands wrapped around her neck. I was seduced beyond reason, beyond caution, beyond any of the careful boundaries I'd tried to maintain. I leaned in and pressed my lips gently to hers. Then I pulled back. Chloe's hands rested on my waist as she looked down at me, her expression unreadable. Why'd you stop?" I felt shy all of a sudden, uncertain. "Can I kiss you again?" Her eyes softened. She nodded. I kissed her again, without reservation this time. Her lips were soft and warm and they parted under mine, and I made a sound that I'd be embarrassed about later. Chloe pressed the back of my head, taking the lead, parting my lips firmly with her own. Just as her hand slipped under my shirt, my phone rang. The sound was jarring, discordant, completely wrong for the moment. Chloe held my face, continuing to kiss my lips softly, her tongue tracing my lower lip. Only when she glanced at the caller ID did she pull back slightly. She picked up the phone. "Calling at this hour," she said into it, her voice light, almost bored. "Are you planning to bring us condoms?" It was Emily. I could hear her voice on the other end, low and urgent, though I couldn't quite make out the words. But I didn't care. I didn't want to care. I wanted Chloe's lips back on mine. I nuzzled into her embrace, chasing her mouth. "More," I murmured. Chloe smiled, I felt it against my cheek, and tilted my chin up. "Later," she whispered, drawing out the word. "Suggestive. Promising." Emily's voice rose, agitated now. "Chloe, you know how much I like Jake. How dare you touch him? That's not how friends act." Chloe put the phone on speaker and tossed it onto the sofa cushion. She guided my hand to the drawstring on her sweatpants, helping me untie it. The fabric loosened, and I felt my breath catch in my throat. "Regarding Emily's words," Chloe said, her tone contemplative, "I suppose we're not friends anymore, then." She kissed me again. Deeper this time, her tongue sliding against mine, and I forgot about the phone entirely. Emily was still talking. I could hear her voice rising and falling, a broken record of accusations and pleas, but I found her incredibly annoying. She was interrupting. She was stealing moments that didn't belong to her. I snatched the phone, hung up, and turned it off. Chloe smiled knowingly. She tilted her head slightly to kiss me again, avoiding my nose with practiced ease. I had heard countless rumors about Chloe, that she was cold, that she was distant, that she never let anyone close. But tonight, she was particularly talkative. "Don't move," she murmured against my lips. "I'll undress you." Her hands were steady, confident. They moved across my body like they had every right to be there, unbuttoning, unzipping, peeling away layers until my skin was bare beneath the hotel room's dim lights. "This part of you is beautiful too, Leo," she said, and I realized she was looking at me, really looking, not just seeing. "Don't cover it." I lowered my hands, which I hadn't even realized I'd raised. She was incredibly gentle. Her words of praise and encouragement sounded especially captivating in her husky voice, each one landing like a warm wave against my overstimulated nerves. "You're doing great, Leo," she said. "Open your eyes and look at yourself in the mirror." I complied. Across the room, there was a full-length mirror mounted on the wall, and in it I could see us, Chloe behind me, her arms around my waist, her chin resting on my shoulder. I looked happy. That was the only word for it. Dazed and flushed and trembling, but happy. How could it be? She murmured, trailing her lips down my neck. It tastes sweet. Want a taste of yourself? I nearly drowned in this sweet trap. Unknowingly, I did many things that night, things that upon remembering them sober would make me want the ground to swallow me whole from embarrassment. But in the moment, none of that mattered. There was only Chloe, and the way she looked at me, and the quiet, insistent rhythm of her voice in my ear. I love you, Leo. She didn't say it. Not yet. But I felt it anyway, in the careful way she touched me, in the patience she showed, in the soft sound she made when I did something right. Hours passed. Or minutes. I couldn't tell. Time had lost all meaning, dissolving into a series of sensations. Skin against skin, breath against breath, the slow burn of pleasure that built and built until I couldn't take it anymore. When I finally collapsed against her, spent and shaking, she held me. Just held me. Her fingers traced lazy patterns on my back, and her heartbeat was steady under my ear, a slow rhythm that anchored me to reality. Sleep, she whispered. I wanted to say something. Something meaningful, something that would convey how I felt in that moment. Grateful, maybe, or confused, or something else entirely that I didn't have words for. But sleep came first. I woke to sunlight and absence. The hotel room was bright, almost aggressively so. Morning light pouring through the windows, illuminating every dust mote, every crease in the sheets, every evidence of the night before. I was alone in the bed. Chloe's side was cold, the pillow untouched, as if she'd never been there at all. No note. No text. No nothing. I sat up slowly, hugging the blanket to my chest, and felt the expected sense of loneliness settle over me. It wasn't sharp, more of a dull ache, like a bruise I kept pressing on. I'd known, on some level, that this was coming. Chloe had made it clear that she didn't want anything serious. She'd been helping me, that was all. Being kind. The night we'd shared was just an extension of that kindness, a way to keep me from embarrassing myself further. But the warm sunlight hit my shoulders marked with red from the night before, evidence of something that had felt very real in the moment, and I forced myself to think practically. Let's just say I hooked up with the campus beauty for free, I told myself. Plenty of guys would kill for that. It didn't help as much as I wanted it to. I showered. I dressed. I checked my phone, which I'd turned off the night before, and saw that I had 17 missed messages. Most of them from Emily, a few from friends asking if I was okay, one from an unknown number that I didn't bother opening. I deleted them all. Then I walked back to campus, taking the long way, giving myself time to think. Emily was waiting outside my dorm. I wasn't surprised. Not really. She had a talent for showing up exactly when she wasn't wanted, and I'd learned over the course of our relationship that her persistence was less about genuine concern and more about control. She didn't like it when things didn't go her way. "Jake," she said, walking up to me. Her expression wasn't the furious one I'd expected. Instead, her tone was softer than usual, almost conciliatory. I deleted all of Sam's contact info. I'll keep my distance from him from now on. About yesterday's breakup talk. Let's just pretend it never happened. Okay. I stared at her. I didn't even know what expression to make to convey my current shock and speechlessness. More baffling than her dumping Sam right after kissing him was the fact that she apparently knew what had happened between me and Chloe last night, or thought she knew, and could immediately come asking for reconciliation. I almost suspected she had a cuckolding fetish. "You don't mind," I said slowly, "that Chloe and I, last night." She flicked my forehead playfully, her expression relaxed. "Stop pretending, Jake. I already know nothing happened between you two last night." I froze. My first thought was that Chloe must have told her. That made sense, in a way, Chloe leaving without a word, clearly wanting to hide the fact that we'd hooked up. Maybe she'd reached out to Emily, explained that it was all a misunderstanding, that we'd just stayed at the bar all night to fulfill the dare. Emily continued, reaching out to embrace me. "But you really did fool me. I was going crazy looking for you half the night. So we're even, okay." I pushed her away. Forcefully. The annoyance I'd been holding back surged up, hot and sharp. "I said we broke up," I told her. "Can you stop bothering me?" Please stay away from me. Her expression flickered, surprise, maybe, or something else I couldn't read. I spent all last night consulting fortunes, I continued, because apparently I was saying things now. And they said you're bad for my financial luck. I've been exhausted after over 3 hours of activity last night. I didn't wait for her response. I turned and walked into my dorm, leaving her standing on the sidewalk, and didn't look back. My roommate was asleep when I got in. I wrapped myself in my blanket and went back to sleep, burrowing into the familiar comfort of my own bed. The sheets smelled like laundry detergent and home, and for a few hours I managed to forget everything. Chloe, Emily, the hotel room, all of it. I slept until afternoon, when my roommate shook me awake. Jake, he said, your club meeting is starting. The president said your phone was off, couldn't reach you, so she asked me to let you know. I sat up slowly, blinking against the light. After a moment, I let out a slow yawn. Okay, I said. Thanks. Then I moved like a sloth, slowly climbing down from my bunk, washing up, plugging my phone into charge. I didn't look at the messages. I didn't want to know. By the time I reached the club meeting room, I was fully recharged, or as fully recharged as I was going to get. The meeting hadn't started yet. The president and vice president hadn't arrived. A junior sidled up to me hesitantly, his face flushed. Senior, he said, tugging at my sleeve, do you know if Vice President Chloe has a boyfriend? I want to ask her out. A strange sense of shame washed over me. I didn't even know why I felt guilty. Chloe and I had been a one-time thing, accidental almost. Neither of us had any claim on the other. I don't think so, I said. The junior's eyes visibly brightened. So do you know Chloe well? Could you tell me something about her? I shook my head more vigorously than necessary. I don't know her well. We've barely spoken. The words came out defensive, almost panicked. I was trying to distance myself, trying to preserve Chloe's image as a pure, unattainable ice queen. If people knew what had happened between us, they'd look at her differently. They'd think less of her. I couldn't have that. The next second, a sarcastic laugh came from behind me. Right, said a voice I knew too well. After all, I was the only one talking last night. You just went to her and, I didn't need to turn around to feel the chilling presence behind me. Chloe was wearing a windbreaker today, zipped up to her chin, the all-black outfit giving her a stern, almost severe look. She stood leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, a smile that didn't reach her eyes on her face. The junior who'd been asking about her took one look at her expression and fled. Chloe pushed off from the doorframe and walked toward me. She didn't stop when she reached me. Instead, she kept going, past me, out of the meeting room and down the hallway to an empty classroom. I followed, because what else was I going to do? She pulled me inside and closed the door behind us. Then she lifted me onto a desk, lifted me like I weighed nothing, and planted her hands on either side of me, caging me in. She stared at me coolly. Didn't realize, Junior, that you're such a player. That was a heavy accusation. I abruptly looked up, my lips almost brushing her chin. Chloe flinched away, not much, but enough for me to notice. Who taught you, she continued, that you can just sleep with someone and not take responsibility? I put on a stern face, retorting righteously. I didn't mean to kiss you. It was an accident. She scoffed lightly. I suggest you think again. Unbidden, the memory of me asking Chloe for kisses last night flooded my mind. The way I'd chased her lips, the way I'd murmured more against her mouth, the way I'd wrapped my hands around her neck like I had every right to be there. The backbone I'd just mustered instantly wilted. Chloe was clearly angry. She continued her cross-examination, her voice dropping lower. Slept with me, and then ran off without a word. Then she lowered her eyes, a self-deprecating curve to her lips, looking utterly dejected. I didn't realize you disliked me that much. Doing everything possible to distance yourself from me. Not answering calls. Not replying to messages. I vaguely sensed there might be a misunderstanding. All thoughts of arguing back vanished. My voice softened. I don't dislike you, Chloe. I woke up and saw you weren't there. I thought you'd already left. I paused, remembering. My phone was off the whole time. I forgot to turn it on. I wasn't intentionally ignoring you. She raised an eyebrow, surprised, maybe, or caught off guard. She studied my face for a long moment, searching for something. Then she slowly explained that she'd gone out that morning to buy me breakfast. She'd already texted me to let me know. It was just that my phone was off, so I hadn't seen it. With the misunderstanding cleared up, Chloe's hand rested on my waist. "So," she said, and her smile was polite, but there was no warmth in it, only a threatening glint in her eyes. "Junior, you will take responsibility for me, right?" The last two words were bitten out with extra clarity, as if denying it would mean instant death. I trembled, nodding like a martyr going to their execution. Chloe finally let me go. I hopped down from the desk, intending to head back to the meeting, but the person behind me called my name again. "Jake." I turned. Her smile had faded. In its place was something gentle. "Serious. I don't want you to think this is just about responsibility," she said. "So I need to make it clear." Chloe looked at me, and her eyes were clearer than spring water. No games, no masks, no careful distance. "I like you," she said. "I have for a long time." The words hung in the air between us, fragile and immense. I didn't know what to say. Chloe liked me. Chloe had always liked me, apparently, even when I was dating Emily, even when I was oblivious to everything except my own carefully constructed life. The campus ice queen, the girl who never let anyone close, had been harboring feelings for me for who knew how long. And I'd spent the morning convincing myself that our night together was meaningless. "You're not going to say anything?" Chloe asked. Her voice was neutral, but I could see the tension in her shoulders, the slight downturn of her lips. "I don't." I stopped. Took a breath. Started again. "I don't know what to say. I'm surprised. I didn't think you. Didn't think I noticed you." She smiled, but it was a sad smile, nothing like her usual sharp amusement. "I've noticed you for 2 years, Jake. Since the first club meeting we both attended. You were sitting in the back, taking notes, actually paying attention while everyone else was on their phones. You raised your hand to ask a question, and your voice was so serious, so earnest, and I thought I want to know that person. 2 years. She'd liked me for 2 years, and I'd never noticed. I'd been too busy with Emily, too wrapped up in my own world, too convinced that the quiet girl in the corner was exactly what she appeared to be, distant, unapproachable, uninterested. "You never said anything," I said stupidly. "You were with Emily." Chloe shrugged, like it was simple. "You were happy. Or you seemed happy. I wasn't going to interfere with that." "But you helped me last night." "Because she hurt you." Something flickered in Chloe's eyes, anger, maybe, or protective fury. "I couldn't just sit there and watch her treat you like that. Like you didn't matter. Like your feelings were a joke." I thought about Emily's casual confidence, the way she'd said I'm not that into him like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. And I thought about Chloe, sitting in that bar for 2 years, watching from the sidelines, never saying a word. "We should go back to the meeting," I said. "They're waiting for us." Chloe nodded. She didn't push. She just walked past me, out of the classroom, and I followed, my thoughts churning. The meeting passed in a blur. I sat in my usual seat, but I didn't hear a word anyone said. My mind was elsewhere, back in that hotel room, back in Chloe's car, back in the bar where everything had fallen apart. I kept glancing at her across the room, and every time I did, she was looking somewhere else. "I like you. I have for a long time." What was I supposed to do with that? The weeks that followed were strange. Chloe and I spent time together, more than we had before, though it was always in group settings, always with other people around. We studied in the library together, sat next to each other at club meetings, grabbed coffee occasionally when our schedules aligned. There was always a hint of awkward unfamiliarity between us, especially after her confession. But it seemed the awkwardness was only on my end. Chloe was the same as she'd always been. Calm. Composed. Unreadable. Until one incident broke through that barrier completely. Finals were approaching, and I was already annoyed from cramming study material. My patience was thin, my temper frayed, and I'd been taking the long way back to my dorm each evening just to have a few minutes of quiet before facing another night of reviewing notes. That evening, the sky was overcast, the streets quieter than usual. I was walking along a path that cut behind the science building, not well lit, not heavily traveled, but faster than going around. I had my headphones in, music playing low, my mind half focused on the exam I had tomorrow. That's when I saw her. She was standing by the bike racks, dressed in a trench coat that looked out of place in the summer heat. As I got closer, I realized why. She opened the coat. I stopped walking. The woman, middle-aged, heavy-set, her face familiar from campus safety emails, grinned at me, waiting for the reaction she was used to. The shocked cry. The panicked retreat. The satisfying rush of power that came from making someone uncomfortable. Instead, I just looked at her. My brain, exhausted and overworked and fresh out of patience, processed the situation in about half a second. This was the exhibitionist who'd been terrorizing campus for weeks. The one who'd been reported multiple times but always managed to disappear before security arrived. The one who got off on making people uncomfortable. And I was done. "Do you think," I said, and my voice came out flat, "you actually have something worth showing off in public?" Her grin faltered. "Are you proud of having no shame?" I continued, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "No decency. Compared to my girlfriend, your behavior is just nauseating. No filthy word in the dictionary is enough to describe it." The woman sputtered, "You don't get triggered." I unlocked my phone and started recording her. "You like showing off, right? Let me start a live stream right now and help you get famous. No need to thank me." My other hand was in my bag the whole time, gripping my pepper spray. I watched her movements closely. If she attacked out of anger instead of running, I'd make her regret today for the rest of her life. Her face turned vicious. For a moment, I thought she might actually charge me. But then her gaze fixed on something behind me, and she fled, running off into the darkness, one hand covering her face, the other fumbling with her coat. I lowered my phone, breathing hard. My heart was pounding, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I'd done it. I'd actually done it. I'd stood up to the campus exhibitionist, and she'd run away, and maybe now she'd think twice before. Slow footsteps behind me. I turned around. Chloe was standing there, arms crossed, leaning against the trunk of a tree. Her peach blossom eyes held an expression I couldn't quite read, something between amusement and admiration, with a hint of something darker underneath. "Chloe," I said, "how long have you been there?" "Long enough." She pushed off from the tree and walked toward me. "That was impressive, Jake." Before I could respond, another voice cut through the evening air. "Can I ask," said Emily, stepping out from behind a bush, "who this girlfriend you mentioned is?" She'd been standing there for who knows how long. Her expression was blank, but there was something beneath it, a storm waiting to break. Her hands were clenched at her sides, her knuckles white. Chloe subtly stepped in front of me, facing Emily. A slight, dismissive smile played at her lips. "Who do you think?" she said. Emily stared fixedly at her. "Chloe, this doesn't concern you. I'm talking to Jake." But Chloe didn't move. She stood her ground, a wall between me and my ex-girlfriend, and I felt something shift in my chest. Protection. That's what this was. Chloe was protecting me. In that split second, I suddenly remembered a question I'd overlooked. Why had Emily been so certain that nothing happened between Chloe and me that night at the bar? Clearly, Chloe hadn't told her anything. As I thought this, Emily voiced it herself. "Didn't you two just spend the whole night at the bar?" She forced a sneer, her smile dripping with contempt. "You never even left, right? Don't tell me you actually did it in a booth at the bar. Wouldn't that be disgusting?" I stepped out from behind Chloe. "How did you know we went back to the bar?" I asked. "Emily, were you following us?" Her smile turned colder. "Do I look like I have that much free time?" She pulled out her phone and showed me the chat history from the small group chat of the department she managed within the club. One of the group members happened to live near that quiet bar and had seen Chloe's car when heading home. They'd posted about it in the group, speculating. Seeing the car still there the next morning, combined with Chloe's 3-year reputation for keeping guys at arm's length, they'd naturally jumped to their own conclusion. Chloe and I had just stayed at the bar all night to fulfill the dare. That's what they believed. And Emily, hearing my phone call, had assumed the same. Emily put her phone away, her gaze shifting between the two of us. Finally settling on Chloe, she smiled calmly. "Chloe, if you really slept with my boyfriend," she said, "I swear to God, I'll destroy you." I immediately stepped in front of Chloe, watching Emily warily. Emily, don't be crazy. Let me repeat one last time. I broke up with you that night at the bar. But Chloe seemed unfazed by the heavy atmosphere. Maintaining her usual composure, she pushed my hand aside and walked up to Emily, her lips curved provocatively. I didn't sleep with him, she said. He slept with me. The tightly wound string snapped. Emily cursed and raised her hand, but Chloe intercepted it, pushing it down. Before Emily could recover, Chloe punched her, hard, across the face, sending her stumbling backward. It was the first time I'd seen Chloe look so fierce and aggressive. She grabbed Emily's collar, leaning in close, her voice low and dangerous. What right do you have to question me? She demanded. If you hadn't done those stupid things, would he have left you? Emily gasped for breath, trying to fight back, but Chloe kicked her hard in the chest, sending her sprawling to the ground. She looked down at Emily with something almost like contempt. What makes you so sure, she said, that no matter what you do, he'd never leave you? Emily looked toward me. I was standing nearby, watching coldly. Her gaze was deep and complex, full of things I couldn't read and didn't want to understand. I ignored her completely. When Chloe came back over, I took her hand naturally. We walked away together, and I didn't lower my voice as I complained to my current girlfriend about my ex. She's pretty weak, I said. Chloe laughed. It was the first real laugh I'd heard from her, bright and genuine, and it made something warm bloom in my chest. The weeks after the confrontation with Emily were quieter. She didn't approach me again, didn't call or text or show up outside my dorm. I heard through mutual friends that she'd been called in by the university administration. Something about the exhibitionist incident, something about her behavior at the bar, something about the online post she'd made that had violated campus policies. I didn't ask for details. I didn't care. What I cared about was Chloe. We'd fallen into a rhythm together, one that felt natural in a way my relationship with Emily never had. We studied side by side in the library, sharing headphones and stealing glances when we thought the other wasn't looking. We grabbed coffee between classes, and Chloe always remembered how I took it. Black, no sugar, which she called psychopath behavior. We texted late into the night, conversations ranging from pointless to profound, and I found myself looking forward to her messages in a way that scared me a little. But there was still a wall between us. Chloe was affectionate, yes, she held my hand in public, kissed my cheek when we parted ways, wrapped her arms around me from behind when I was focused on something else. But she never pushed. Never asked for more than I was ready to give. It was like she was waiting for something, though I couldn't figure out what. One evening, after our last class, Chloe invited me to her off-campus apartment. No ulterior motives, she said, holding up her hands in mock surrender. I just want to show you something. Her apartment was small but carefully arranged. Warm lighting, comfortable furniture, books stacked on every available surface. But the moment I walked through the door, I understood the real reason she'd invited me. A Siamese cat was sprawled across the back of the couch, its blue eyes fixed on me with imperial disdain. This is Mochi, Chloe said. She's the real owner of this apartment. I just pay the rent. Mochi allowed me to pet her, barely, before leaping down and stalking off to some hidden corner of the apartment. Chloe laughed, and the sound filled the space in a way that made it feel like home. We ordered takeout. We watched a movie, something forgettable, some action flick that neither of us was really paying attention to. And Chloe produced a bottle of fruit wine from her kitchen, pouring us both a glass. I should warn you, she said, handing me mine. This is stronger than it tastes. I should have listened. By the end of the movie, I'd had half the bottle. Not a lot, objectively, but enough to tip me into that perfect state of intoxication, the one where everything feels slightly magical, where the world softens at the edges, where courage comes easily and consequences feel distant. Chloe pulled me onto her lap. I went willingly, settling against her chest, her arms wrapped around my waist. You remember the details from that night? She asked, her voice amused. I was tired of her effortless, playful, teasing manner. Tired of the wall between us, the careful distance she maintained even when we were this close. So I threw caution to the wind. I blinked, looking at her innocently. I remember. So what? I pointed to my chest. My heart was pounding right here back then. Chloe laughed, that bright, genuine laugh that I was starting to crave. She leaned down and bit my lip gently, just hard enough to make me gasp. "Really?" she murmured. She switched back to praise mode, her voice dropping lower. "Jake, you were really into it that night." Her fingertips slid down to my lower abdomen, tracing circles, teasing. "You'll do great today too, right?" My face flushed betrayingly. My eyes felt hot. "Stop seducing me all the time, Chloe." Her kisses had already moved to the side of my neck, her voice growing even lower. "But do you like it?" I couldn't control my breathing. A soft moan escaped my lips. "I like it," I mumbled. Mochi was locked in the bedroom by Chloe. The sofa discovered functions it wasn't designed for, endured things it was never meant to endure. That night, I was forced to say I like it countless times, each repetition earning me another kiss, another touch, another whispered word of encouragement. This time, when I woke up, I was in Chloe's arms. The morning light was soft, filtered through gauze curtains, painting everything in shades of gold and cream. Chloe was still asleep, her face peaceful, her dark hair spread across the pillow like spilled ink. I turned over in her embrace to face her, and I just watched. I thought about everything that had happened. The bar, the dare, Emily's casual cruelty, Chloe's quiet intervention, the hotel room, the confession, the weeks of careful, patient waiting. Chloe really knew what she was doing. If she wanted to, she could be wilder, play more games than Emily ever had. But she didn't. She said she only liked me. And I was starting to believe her. Lost in thought, I didn't realize Chloe had woken up until our eyes met. Something hit me then, belatedly, like a wave crashing over me when I least expected it. That progress bar labeled feelings for Chloe had unknowingly loaded past the halfway mark, past the three-quarter mark, all the way to full. Chloe squinted slightly, tightening her arms around me, pulling me closer. She nuzzled her face into the crook of my neck, her breath warm against my skin. "I love you, Jake," she murmured, her voice thick with sleep. "I love you." The lower half of my face was pressed against her neck, too. It was an intimacy even more blush-inducing than our passionate moments from the night before. I whispered back, "I know." Chloe's hold on me paused, just for an imperceptible moment, then returned to normal. "Aha," she hummed. She didn't ask me to say it back. She didn't push. She just held me, patient as always, waiting for me to come to her on my own terms. That was the moment I knew. Not just that I liked her. Not just that I cared about her. But that I was falling for her, truly falling, in a way I'd never fallen for Emily, in a way I didn't know I was capable of. The next few weeks were a lesson in what it meant to be with someone who actually saw me. Sam, who'd been looking radiant after his kiss with Emily, suddenly wasn't so radiant anymore. I heard through the grapevine that Emily had cut him off completely, blaming him for what had happened, for the breakup, for everything. He walked around campus with his shoulders hunched, avoiding eye contact, the picture of misery. One time, Chloe and I ran into him on our way off campus. He looked like he'd just been crying, his eyes red-rimmed, his face haggard. He blocked our path, his tone hesitant. "Chloe," he said, "are you with Jake now?" Chloe smiled, polite but sharp. "Does it concern you?" Sam forced a smile. "I just wanted to warn you. You probably don't really know what kind of person Jake is. Don't let him fool you." I immediately blew up. Yeah, you know me best. Maybe you should change your name to Sam the Mindreader, Jake's personal edition." Sam flushed with anger. "Jake, shut up." Chloe cut him off, maintaining a final shred of civility. "Compared to Jake, I certainly know you better." Sam looked incredulous. "Chloe, are you saying?" Chloe studied him thoughtfully. "The other man," she said. "Home wrecker. How would you prefer I address you?" Sam's face alternated between green and white. In the end, the instigator left simmering with rage, muttering curses under his breath. Sweet justice. That night, as a reward for Chloe, I tried switching from passive to active. I quickly discovered that lying down really is the easiest way. But Chloe didn't seem to mind. She just laughed and pulled me back down, and we stayed tangled together until the early hours of the morning. I hadn't given Sam much thought after that. I never expected he would dare to publicly post on the campus forum under his real name, accusing me of cheating. But he did. The post went viral within hours. Sam presented it all in a video, the boy's eyes red-rimmed, his face haggard. The title read, "Not calling anyone out, just hoping public opinion makes Jake realize the seriousness of the situation and stop destroying my relationship with my girlfriend." The entire video detailed how I, while dating Chloe, was still involved with Emily, causing his and Emily's relationship to rupture and leading Emily to break up with him. He didn't mention a single word about interfering in my relationship with Emily. I closed my eyes, my blood boiling. My fingers hesitated for a long time before clicking on the comment section. I'd braced myself to be completely ripped apart. But the top comment read, "OMG, the side piece a homewrecker is playing the victim. You think blurring the details of how you got with Emily hides the fact that you broke them up?" The second, "Even without seeing that other post, I don't believe you, little bro. Ever since I heard Jake stood up to that exhibitionist, I'm unconditionally on his side." The third, "Came here from that other post just to call you a homewrecker." The fourth, "Oh, right. And so the trashy girl doesn't get away clean. I'll curse you both. Scumbag couple. That Emily girl, I already reported her. By the way, forget about being club president. That other post." I scrolled down further, seeing many people mention another post. It took about half a minute to find the link. It was posted under Chloe's real name. Roughly 3,000 words of narrative, interspersed with several pictures. Not only did it logically and factually refute Emily's continued pursuit of me and nail Sam as the third party. Most importantly, 2 minutes after Sam posted his accusation against me, Chloe had immediately followed up with the clarification. I called her right away. "How did you guess Sam was going to slander me and get all this evidence ready beforehand?" She gave a slight chuckle. "I just anticipated it based on his character. Taking precautions." I rested my chin on my hand, unable to contain my smile. "You didn't have to prepare it beforehand. The truth would have come out eventually anyway. Sam would have ended up shooting himself in the foot." There were a few seconds of silence on the other end. Then Chloe said, "But I didn't want to give them even a single chance to attack you." My brain buzzed. I finally understood her motive. Only by clarifying immediately could she minimize the chances of me being wrongly targeted by online hate. It felt like fireworks exploding in my head, scattering all reason, leaving only heart-shaped bubbles. After hanging up, I ran toward the club meeting room to find Chloe. When I arrived, I unexpectedly heard Emily's voice through the door. "Chloe, you're that scared of me, huh?" Chloe's tone was indulgent, like humoring a fool. "Whatever you say." "I saw the clarification you posted," Emily continued, ignoring her dismissiveness. "Posting that fast clearly means you had the evidence ready beforehand. But why?" She laughed softly. "Because you were afraid I'd come out with a clarification, steal your thunder, and then Jake would be touched and get back together with me. If I'm not mistaken, Jake hasn't even told you he likes you yet, has he?" Silence. Then Chloe's voice, flat and cold. "Are you finished? The door's over there. See yourself out." Emily acted as if she hadn't heard. "I know him better than you do. He couldn't possibly fall for you that quickly. Even if he's with you, it's only because you slept together. Forcing it isn't meaningful. Chloe, let Jake go." This damn delusional narcissist. I found a basin in the adjacent storage room, filled it halfway with water in the restroom, and pushed the door open. "Jake," Emily said, dropping her arrogant facade. I didn't look at Chloe immediately. I held the basin in front of Emily. She looked down into the basin. Surprise flickered in her eyes, mixed with unexpected pleasure. "You." I cut her off. "Look down, Emily." She complied. "See clearly now." I abruptly let go. The basin crashed to the floor. Emily couldn't dodge in time. Water splashed across her pants, soaking through the fabric. "I thought maybe your family was too poor to afford a mirror," I said, practically exploding with anger. "So I kindly got you a basin of water so you could see your own face." I launched into my attack. Why couldn't I possibly fall for Chloe this quickly? Does that mean I have to mourn you for a year before I can like someone else? She's better looking than you, more loyal than you, better than you in every way. Instead of immediately cutting my losses and pursuing a mutual relationship with her, I should be up late at night crying over you, listening to sad songs, and writing pity-party essays. Is that right? Emily pressed her lips together tightly, looking at me darkly. Just because of that 3-minute kiss, you dumped me immediately. Is that fair to me? I took a deep breath to calm down. I gave Emily a fake smile. If you feel you've been treated unfairly, I said, you can sue me. She looked like she wanted to say more, but the club president appeared, interrupting her neurotic rant. The president looked serious. The situation with you and Sam has blown up online, she said. It's causing significant negative impact on the school's reputation. The advisor is coming to talk to you shortly. Your disciplinary actions probably won't be minor. Emily remained stubbornly fixated on me, seemingly wanting to say something else. I resisted the urge to gloat openly, grabbed the silent Chloe, and left. By the deserted lakeside, the cloudy weather made the day feel more restless than usual. My expression was grave as Chloe and I stood in silence. I was debating whether to explain first or confess first, but I heard her apology first. It's true that part of my motivation was fearing you'd get back together with Emily, she said. But my primary intention really was to prevent you from being attacked by public opinion. I sighed, cupping her face. Our eyes met. Chloe, you don't have to be so cautious. Even if it was the first reason, you don't need to apologize. Because I like you. And things like this just make me find you endearing. She paused. A few seconds later, she let out a low laugh. Came 6 months early, she said. What's 6 months? Chloe looked out at the artificial lake, her gaze distant. I was prepared for you to take 6 months to like me. She paused. Of course, I also considered that maybe you'd never like me at all. But I'm generally optimistic. I thought if I was just good enough to you, better than anyone else, at least you wouldn't fall for someone else. She said it softly, almost to herself. Maybe you'd be willing to stay with me. Chloe, always known as the favored daughter of fortune, the girl who had everything, could actually say such deeply humble words so calmly and without flinching. The sadness outweighed the feeling of being touched. I buried my face in her embrace, sobbing quietly. Chloe, are you lovesick? She hugged me back, gently rubbing the back of my head. Her voice was lazy. I'm Jake sick. I hugged her tighter. My voice was slightly nasal as I corrected her. You can't. You should put yourself first. Don't lose yourself. Chloe's tone lifted slightly in a soft laugh. That's not something I can help, she said, self-deprecating. If I could control it, I would have stopped liking you long ago. During the days when Emily and I were getting along well, with no cracks in our relationship, Chloe's secret crush had remained hidden from the light. It was an endless night with no end in sight. From unbearable pain to numbness. The clouds had dispersed some time without me noticing. Dappled sunlight fell on her shoulders. I told her solemnly, from now on, you'll have me with you. Even though our future was still uncertain, full of unknown hardships and obstacles, I still stepped onto this path with her without hesitation. I would spare no effort to overcome every hurdle. Chloe's smile was gentle. Yeah. She gestured for me to look at the sun breaking through the last layer of clouds. Look, she said. The sky is bright. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.